This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Loose on the Lead on this Sunday morning, beautiful Sunday morning in Saratoga. Seth Merrow from Equidaily.com, Steve Bick from Sirius and XM's At the Races. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Seth, and indeed another gorgeous day here in Saratoga. The foothills of the Adirondacks.
Tote bag giveaway day.
Is today the tote bag?
Tote bag giveaway day. So
it's going to be nuts.
It is going to be nuts.
It's a cool bag.
And the last couple of days have been temperature-wise, humidity is blown out, but it's still comfortable, sunny. The racing is very good. I think the two-year-old stakes races are really good this afternoon.
You know what they say? It's not the heat, it's the humility. The stakes are terrific, in fact, and actually, the Saratoga Special and the Adirondack have suffered a little bit in recent years in terms of participation and quality. That's not the case today, particularly for the boys. The two-year-old boys race, I thought came up very, very good. In fact, we'll talk a little bit to George Weaver, who has a interesting potential price involved in that Saratoga Special, outposted there in the 11, WV Jet Setter. And of course, jet setting has been George Weaver's MO at Saratoga, just tearing it up.
Yeah, we got a couple when he's in there, a couple of wins from yesterday, particularly that Requite, who was very, very nice yesterday.
It is funny. You bring up Requite, and it's so funny how the two-year-old buzz machine works. 8-1 in the morning line, opens up at 2-1. It gets as low, I think, as I got down to like 7-5 at one point. It's just funny because, for people that say, oh, it's the steam and I'm not privy, well, it's not that involved. All you have to do is read Mike Welch and Mike Vessey's clocker reports at DRF. And, all the clocking services that knew that this horse was coming in with a lot of momentum. And today we've got, in fact, that two-year-old turf stake, not stake, but two-year-old turf maiden group. Everybody's working well, and there's some very nice pedigrees.
Yeah,
should be
nice.
A terrific day of racing. I would say that today's card's even better than yesterday's.
You have the sibling to More Than Real running today.
You got the full. That's a full.
Yeah, going to be very.
You got Proud Spell. You got the Proud Spell sibling. You've got all kinds. It's going to be a very fun day of racing. Yesterday was kind of for a Saturday. We certainly. Crowd-wise, the crowd was certainly happy to be there. They were not worried about the specific, quality and the specific elements of the stakes race. The Four-Star Dave was very good, and it's fine, but it wasn't like Whitney Day, and yet the handle was great. The crowd was terrific. It was a good day.
And I want to go back to yesterday because we can talk a little bit nuts and bolts of the game with an owner in the game. We're going to watch yesterday's fifth race, and we're going to see Pretension really nice in the stretch. Gets past, comes back, but we got to bring it up because you go down the chart. You go down the chart. 4 horses claimed out of the race. The winner, Pretension, claimed by DT Stables. This is a very nice claim. Pretension in here, number 7, as I say. He gets past and then resurges. You guys had to feel good watching this race.
Absolutely, and I think it would have felt good no matter what happened with Pretension. This is a horse that I've always liked, and it's kind of funny how this all came about. With some of the partners we put together for a claiming group for Saratoga, wanted to get a horse or two, and when Chris Grove had him as a 2-year-old, and then, when he would come to New York, Grove would bring him to Aqueduct. If you remember, as a 3-year-old, he participated in the Count Fleet and the Whirlaway, and I think he won the Sweet Envoy, maybe, or I forget, some stake race in New York years ago. I've always liked this horse, and here you are as a 5-year-old, and you have an opportunity to grab him, and he can do a little bit of everything. He can, he can go intermediate distances, he can turf, he can go short. We'll hopefully get a start back, and who knows? Keep him as long as we can. You've got to a sound horse at 5. It went over him last night. He's gorgeous. I mean, big, handsome horse, and happy to have him.
Yeah, and there was 4 claims out of that race, so it was a productive race at the claiming box. Was it just you guys, or was there a shake?
No.
Just you guys.
Had the slip handed
Nice,
to us,
nice.
and came out of the test barn and into the new stall. And it is fun when you claim. It is fun. I mean, this is an experienced horse, and he's been claimed. He's very attractive at the claim box, and it's kind of funny to watch them. And they know they're in a new environment, and so they have to kind of acclimate a little bit. And he was kind of in the back of the stall for a while, looking out the back window, and brought a couple of mints and rattled the paper, and that got him acclimated in a hurry. Down in a couple of minutes. So kind of excited.
I want to talk the other side of the game now, though. Today, I talked about this a little bit earlier on the Handicappers Award. Toy Cannon comes back, and my thing was, are you going to watch Toy Cannon like that?
No.
Just part of the game. Turn the page and move on.
Yeah, and there's a lot of interesting elements to that, and the fact
And the
that
thing
Toy
for
Cannon
folks who
runs
didn't
back
see it earlier, Toy Cannon was claimed from you guys last time.
at Belmont, and here's a kind of an enigmatic horse, a horse that seemingly does not want to win all that much. He's a difficult horse to train, and he's kind of a refusenik, as they say, in the mornings, and sometimes won't train. And these are the kind of the behind-the-scenes things when you're involved in the claiming game, that you're going to take a horse, and maybe around the racetrack, I mean, he certainly has had his handful of incidents in his 3 years out of the Belmont barn, a horse that was known to try to throw riders and roll over on them and crush them and kill them. John Toscano, I know, likes the horse very much, but he runs him back for 40.
Yeah.
And I am intrigued, because this was a horse that you could claim because of conditions. He's got his New York first level allowance available, and he's always competitive. But yet, Toscano runs him back in a 40. And this is not an easy spot at all. This is part of what's going on here. There's horses being jammed and people looking for wins and looking to get purses and claimed. So I'm wondering if John wants to see Toy Cannon turned right around and maybe a little bit more of a handful around the barn than he cares to deal with, because you would have thought he would have turned right back up in an allowance race for New York bred. So it will be interesting to see. We'll see. We're keeping an eye. Let's say that. We got the finger on the pulse.
Like I say, well, I was wondering if as
No,
an owner,
listen, God
you luck
hey,
losing-
that's what you
losing a
want.
horse
You want him to do well, and I bought that horse as a yearling. In fact, while we're on that topic, last night, good numbers at the New York bred sale, continues tonight. You can get in the game this evening for maybe as little as $15,000.
And I went over briefly last night. They had a nice crowd.
Was the bar open?
Yeah. I don't know. if the bar
But
was
I'm bummed.
But Monday and Tuesday night, that was a good sale too. Results over there.
Oh, listen, this is your opportunity. They start with an advantage. Come over tonight and buy a horse.
Yeah, and if you haven't been over the sale,
I'll help you. I got 27 tonight that I thought were worth considering.
right down the street, right down East Avenue, with Facing Sales Pavilion, and you can come and watch Paddock in the back.
Seth will buy you a drink at the bar.
Otherwise, more things change, the more they stay the same. Up on the top, I was amazed that, not amazed, I found it funny that Ken Ramsey came into the meet and Tim Wilkins had a quote from him saying something like, I'm not that loaded at the meet. But he's right up there at the top of the list. And Michael Dove doing very well. The Bromans doing very well. Over on the trainer side, of course, Todd Pletcher. On the jockey side, Javier Castellano. But certainly, again, as I say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. But maybe new faces, maybe on the jockeys list with the Ortiz brothers doing very, very well.
Well, Arad Ortiz is outperforming Jose by a clear margin. I mean, that's apparent. And part of it is that Arad is better on the grass than Jose. That's notable. Cornelio Velasquez deserves mention. Yeah. Cornelio, who's usually 10th to 14th in the standings with wins typically at this meet, even with the close association with Linda Rice. He's been terrific, absolutely terrific. And of course, Junior Alvarado, who is particularly good going long on the grass. Alvarado and off the Whitney win. You talked about the ownership. I'm astounded by the presence of Patricia Generazio. Mrs. Generazio has a handful of mares She does not necessarily spend a fortune on stud fees. She's had an affinity for Disco Ricos, Jimmy Ryerson, and Chris Clement, and I'm missing a third trainer. Mrs. Generazio with 3 wins from 9 starts at the meet, and her very familiar pink and green silks. Kind of cool that we're seeing the kind of success that a medium-sized, small to medium-sized owner like Mrs. Generazio is having. She does a great job, and whether it's with a Chris Clement, high profile, or a lower profile guy like Jimmy Ryerson, who does a super job. I thought her success at the meet, she'll send out another 6-7 starters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, you see your name on the list, and then go down a couple of spots. There's Judd Mott. You're doing pretty well when you're on a list like that, and against some of the powerhouses. And as you say, with a smaller outfit, it's fun to see. Broman's as well.
Yeah, well, he does a super job, Chet and Mary Broman.
And just before we go to the commercial, did want to take a quick look at the feature. You mentioned it before, and just want to show this because, boy, that was a ding-dong finish. And by the end of the meet, this will be one of the better finishes. Yesterday's 4-star Dave won by number 2, Seek again. Crafty ride for Joel Rosario. I said on the handicapping show yesterday, if Silver Max or Syed could sneak away, they'd be tough to reel in. Well, going into the backstretch, I thought Silver Max was going to be tough to reel in, but you can see here, he kind of disappoints. That's the one chicklet fading out there. That is Silver Max. But it is a 16th ball. There was 3 or 4 of them in there with a shot. Seek again gets it done for Bill Mott, who chose this spot over going out to Chicago for a Million Day out there. Picked the right spot.
Yeah, this is one of those, and you see that sharp time, 1:33 and 1.
Course record.
Course record, and it's not as if we haven't had rain in recent enough, that it's a fair and honest turf course. I mean, that's a performance. And Seek again, obviously, is going to continue to be a top-level performer in the mile turf category. You do wonder a little bit, though, Seth, when you see a finish like this. It kind of harkens back to what we saw, in the Ogden Phipps, and wondering about the group, because when they're that closely packed, I mean, a horse like Dorset, who's a nice enough horse, but he's nothing special. I mean, Brian Lynch, by the way, continues to bring nothing but live horses down to Saratoga out of the Woodbine base, which is something we talked about early in the season. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, obviously, Wise Dan will come back into Baruch, and we'll go from there.
All right. Anything else you want to touch on before
No,
we
take
hit
a break, because George Weaver's calling, and I got to tell him where he has to come.
All right. So send out the tweets. We'll go to our break when we come back. Dean Reeves,
George.
You know him from Mucho Macho man fame.
Yeah, baby.
Also a nice stakes contender this afternoon. All of that right after this.
Go Zephyr kicking clear, and Go Zephyr is pulling away impressively.
Hysterical Lady, Ginger Punch to win it.
And it's Wilco in front, and he's going to pull off a huge upset here.
But it's Round Pond going on to take the distaff.
Awesome again. Star of 10 Grade 1 winners, 4 Breeders' Cup champions, and 4 multimillionaires standing at Adena Springs.
It's more than just a sports bar. It's Stadium Cafe. Located at 389 Broadway in Saratoga, it's the place to be for great times and great food. Their menu features everything from gourmet entrees to your favorite wraps and sandwiches. Or maybe you just want to grab a beer and catch the game. So what could be better than that? How about 2 Stadium Cafes? There's also the Westside Stadium, right up the road at 112 Congress Street. Same great menu, same great service. Whether you're hanging at the bar or just relaxing outside on their spacious covered patio, you'll always leave knowing you'll be back again.
We love, above all, the staff. We love Dave Harmon, and the food is fantastic.
Not 1, but 2. 112 Congress Street, 389 Broadway. Guaranteed to be a home run.
Sovereign Stable.
Partnerships.
Ownership.
Winning.
Sovereign Stable.
The anticipation.
The excitement.
The thrill.
Top level racing.
Sovereign Stable.
Join us in the morning on the backstretch of Saratoga Racecourse to experience the magic of thoroughbred ownership. Call 866-329-2WIN to meet trainers, jockeys, and watch sovereign horses on the track.
We're back on Loose on the Lead, and rest assured, George Weaver now does know where to come, and he'll be next. But right now, we're delighted, as always, to have Dean Reeves join us. And, of course, the Reeves, he and wife Patty, so prominent in racing the last several years as the principal owners of Mucho Macho Man. And, Dean, welcome, and congratulations yet again on his tremendous career, which came to a close just in the last several weeks.
Thank you very much. It's exciting to have his stallion career in front of us, and what a great career he had on the racetrack. So, you know, we're lining up those mares to send to him next year to Dina Springs, and looking forward to that.
Are you gonna buy 120 of them like Ken Ramsey and
Boy, I tell you, he did it right, didn't he? I mean, he had it worked.
It did work
for him. But no, we'll probably be in the 4 or 5 range, so that'll do work for us.
There you go. And of course, you know, you get into this game and you come in for various objectives and interests. You know, whether you want to just have fun, whether you're hoping to get a good horse and you know, get a stake horse, but to get a Breeders' Cup Classic winner and to make a sire. I mean, that is really, especially fairly early on in your involvement in the game, it's almost a little bewildering and I suppose overwhelming.
It is. We were very blessed to get a horse like Mucho Macho Man. They don't come around very often. We're looking back at it now and realizing just how incredible it was to get a horse like that. Never thought we would be involved with a sire or even be thinking about breeding. We just got in it for fun, and we've had a great time. And so we're now looking forward to, you know, another part of the business that's fabulous.
Go back to that, though. I don't want to skip over getting the horse. And while we talk, I think we have the Breeders' Cup Classic from last year, and we'll watch Mucho Macho Man win. But the story is very intriguing. You bought him out of his career debut, and you were actually looking at the winner. He finished second. Both of those turned out to be nice horses. You could have gone either direction. The winner was Gourmet Dinner, but you shifted your attention to Mucho Macho Man.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Rittville and I talked about that later on, that it'd been nice to have bought both horses. They did fabulous, and I don't know, there was something about Mucho Macho Man that caught my eye in that race, and I told Tim those famous words, call me crazy, but I like the second place horse. And things worked out that we were able to acquire a majority interest in him early on, and you know, the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, very good.
It's been fabulous.
Absolutely.
Part of that history, and you mentioned Tim Ritvo, and of course, right in close proximity to the acquisition of Mucho Macho Man, Tim's career with Stronach Group, as an executive at Gulfstream, was beginning. He stepped away from the racetrack, and Kathy Ritvo, his wife, the two of them, of course, out of New England and life on the racetrack.
Right.
Kathy Reeves steps in, and her remarkable story gets layered on with the heart transplant and everything that comes with that, and it's almost a fairy tale in so many ways.
Yeah, I had a friend tell me one time he thought Kathy Ritvo was ordained to train Mucho Macho Man. And I think there's a lot of truth to that.
I like it.
And it's a fabulous story. I love Kathy Ritvo. She did a tremendous job keeping this horse in top form to go time after time against the best horses around. Grade 1 stake after another. Just an incredible job by Kathy and her staff. We feel like we've come back home by having Mr. Stronach and Adina Springs come in and have the breeding rights to Mucho Macho Man. We're still one big family, and they have been fabulous to deal with, so helpful and do a great job. And he's settling in good shape there at Adina Springs in Kentucky.
He's in good hands, and of course Adina Springs really along with WinStar, just the absolute top of the game as a breeding operation, Stallion Farm, and wish you the tremendous amount of luck. Part of the coda to Mucho Macho Man, in addition to what's going to happen as a stallion, has been the incredible timing because even before Mucho Macho Man was making his presence known as a top handicap horse and as a top 3-year-old, I had been in contact with Jack D'Amico and the group in Georgia that is trying to bring the Peach State into the 21st century and open up gambling and potentially even the construction of a racetrack. And Mucho Macho Man has really been a linchpin in the effort and really a great centerpiece for awareness and to grow the momentum for this charge. And of course, you've signed on heartily. Tell us about the Georgia Horse Racing Coalition and its progress.
It's coming along fabulous. Of course, with Mucho Macho Man was our Georgia hometown horse.
The poster boy.
He was the poster boy. We got a lot of mileage out of Mucho Macho Man with that. But I am really excited about where we're going forward and our opportunity next year in the House and the Senate to get a bill passed to allow pari-mutuel betting in Georgia. We've got a big fundraiser August the 27th, so I hope that all those folks listening today will go on our website at gahorseracing.org, buy a ticket even if you can't come to the event, because we're going to show the premiere to 50 to 1, and otherwise get a ticket or make a donation. But we're full steam ahead. I'm getting calls from senators that are interested in sponsoring the bill. We've never had that kind of thing happen before. I actually had a call from the governor this week, more so to ask for a campaign contribution, but at least he knows who we are. And so we are getting so much positive feedback. And we've been to many of the cities. We were in Savannah this week speaking with the folks there, and it's been very positive all across the state. So I think we're going to get it done.
Did you go to Mrs. Wilkes while you're in Savannah for?
I was planning to come up here, but some of our other folks went to Savannah, so I put that on.
Savannah's out of this world.
And am I mistaken, or is there a big steeplechase event down in Atlanta every year?
There is the Atlanta Steeplechase. They have a big event in Hawkinsville, Georgia, every year, and so we need to do this. Atlanta is too big a sports town not to have horse racing, and we're going to do this without any taxpayer funds. We're doing this on our own dime. We're going to be able to support education, the Hope Scholarship, and it's a win-win for the state of Georgia. When you talk about the revenue and the jobs, the whole deal. So we're excited. We think we're going to get it done.
And we've said before, Seth, you and I have discussed this. I mean, in terms of handle growth in this country, there's 38 jurisdictions where gambling is legal. That means there's 12 that where there isn't. So, you know, all you got to do is drop a couple of these dominoes every few years. Of course, Arizona has come back into the fold. Texas, kind of still potential for Texas to make its way in that direction. But a state like Georgia and an affluent area like Atlanta and the other major markets in and around the state, it's an absolute natural, and the influx of revenue for the industry would be substantial.
Oh, and it's an untapped market.
Absolutely.
We're meeting with the folks with the lottery. You know, we have the lottery in Georgia, so it's not like we don't have
it's not
gambling.
What has been, when you've had these discussions, and when Jack had these discussions early on, what has been the blockade? What has it been religious grounds and some of that stuff, or?
It has somewhat on the religious grounds. It's been somewhat, well, you know, the dad's going to go to the track and blow all the money for the family, and they won't be able to, buy groceries and that kind of thing. And it's just we've got to educate everybody in Atlanta and Georgia that the horse racing today is not like it was 50 years ago. Most people are already betting on horse racing through the internet. So we're bringing an industry to this state that's going to help the state, the entire state, and that's what we want to sell.
We're all for it. Behind it.
Well,
anything we can do to help. Give people the information again. The web address.
gahorseracing.org. So please, we need some funds. We got to pay some bills. We want to do a lot of advertising, have a good lobbyist group, and hit it hard. Well, they know we're coming.
We know you're also coming with a 2-year-old, the next generation.
That's
Macho Man, off to the Stallion Shed, WV Jet Setter.
Right.
And today, for George Weaver, who's going to be here momentarily, provided he finds his way. He's got to come from the other side. Here is the race at Lone Star, and talk about the acquisition from the Brett Calhoun barn on this Jet Phone Chestnut Colt.
Well, I have a good friend, Randy Hill. We were at the Mucho Macho Man Wise Dan event for Captain here at Saratoga. And Randy was telling me about a WV Jet Setter that he had purchased the horse. So I went back that night and watched the race. The next day, I went and grabbed Randy and I said, "You got to sell me part of this horse." And being a good friend that he is, and we had talked about getting together to buy a horse together and have some fun. And so he was kind enough to let me buy in on the horse, and we've got a partnership here that we're going to have a lot of fun.
Now, this WV Jet Setter, Texas bred, and came out running, already had won that race you saw, was the Lone Star Sales Futurity. And I could tell early in the meet when Randy Hill was kind of murmuring that he had a big surprise coming out, and it was clearly this colt.
Go ahead.
Were you there for the workout on the third, the bullet work?
I was, and we were thought he did really well to just walk off the van and here 3 or 4 days and go have a nice work on this track. George's only had the horse now about 2.5 weeks. And we're very excited about him. I think he's a very well-developed 2-year-old. He looks fabulous. I think people will be impressed when they see him in the paddock. And but this is the real deal here at Saratoga. This is
this is not an easy spot. This is a salty race.
Very salty race, and we're looking for just a good effort if he comes in there and runs, because we think he can stretch out a little bit. And but we're excited. We're just going to have some fun. That's what we're in this thing to do. Randy and I are good friends. Everybody involved. We're coming up today to have a lot of fun.
Very good.
Now, I'm going to wish Randy Hill and Dean Reeves the best of luck. We're going to talk to George Weaver about this colt in a little bit. When we come back, George is going to join us. Dean, for everybody, we all appreciate the generosity that you and Patty and Kathy Ritvo and everybody associated with Mucho Macho Man really shared the horse and his experiences. And there were ups and downs, but it certainly ends up with a high note. Congratulations again. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's always good to be here.
Before we let you go, I just want to say I was over there playing on the Horsemen's team in the Jockeys versus Horsemen's charity game, and you look pretty good out there on the court.
Well, thank you. That is my first love is basketball, and I've played all my life and played really up until I was about 50 years old. So I love playing basketball.
That was a couple of years ago when you turned after 50.
That's right. I just stopped playing.
Dean Reeves, and if we stood him up, his head it would cut off on the top of the screen because he's about 6'4".
6'4".
Look at that.
So.
Great. Power forward.
Thank you. That's right. Guard. Nowadays you got to move out and play guard.
Exactly. 6'4" is small.
Where's that leave me? I look at the end of the bench.
Yeah. Well, George
was a lot of fun.
George is another power forward type.
He is. George's a big guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he could take you to the front.
Where'd you play? You must have played in college.
Georgia Tech. I was
Ramblin' Wreck. Look at that.
Wreck, Georgia Tech.
How about that?
Yeah, I played. Actually played a couple of years at junior college ball, and then went to Georgia Tech. Played there for Coach Wackhider, Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Just a wonderful gentleman, and I'm a huge Tech fan. And of course, our silks, white and gold, is for Georgia Tech, and then Patty added the green accent colors.
How about
and that's
that?
how we got there.
I love it.
Now we've got the rivalry going because I'm a Syracuse graduate. So,
Well, we're gonna tee it up and see how we do. So.
We're going to have George Weaver will join us next. Dean Reeves, everybody. Jack Wolf ahead, too, on Loose on the Lead. Stay with us.
I'm Brian Nadeau of HorsePlayerNow.com. Did you know that each Monday during the Saratoga Racing Meet, all Capital Bets account holders can earn an additional 1% in their player rewards program when wagering on Saratoga races? For more information, log on to CapitalOTB.com.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right. The 2014 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes and a seat at the 2015 Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month's contest is the Labor Day Workout on September 6th. So sign up today, online at capitalotb.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook.
Fascinated by the world of horse racing? Interested in honing your handicapping skills? Class is in session. Night school, Monday nights. Easy to access online. It's free, interactive, and informative for the casual and serious race fan. Horse Player Now Buzz. Live horses to watch emailed to you daily. Our eyes, your prize. Night School in the Buzz. Visit horseplayernow.com for details.
I didn't want to get just any degree after high school.
Horse racing has always been my passion.
I was already a lawyer. When I was young, my dad took me to the races. The sound of the crowd. I still remember.
I'm 40, and I don't want to stay in a career I don't love.
I want to follow my passion.
Follow your passion at the University of Arizona Racetrack Industry Program.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to capitalotb.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. capitalotb.com. Log on today.
We're back on Loose on the Lead. I almost feel like we're going to have a part 2 conversation after Dean Reeves joined us this morning. Turn our attention, though, to George Weaver. And George, I should have worn my asbestos mittens. You're red hot.
Well, we had a big day yesterday. You know, we won 4 early in the meet, and then I kind of cooled off. We had some live horses, just didn't get it done, and so I was glad to get things rolling again yesterday, and hopefully can do well the rest of the meet.
Well, it's a trick. You see, you lull people into betting on you, then you cool off, and they say, oh, Weaver's cold, and they gravitate elsewhere, and then you come back.
Yeah, that's the plan. I like to, once I see their bet me too heavy, I like to cold water everybody for a while, and then we come back and get some odds. Yeah.
Somehow that didn't work yesterday with Requite.
No, I don't.
It went in the completely the opposite direction.
Yeah, he was very well bet. He's been doing very well in the morning, but I didn't do a very good job hiding him.
Oh man, I think we actually have that race. We can take a look at Requite yesterday. Who, was it 8-1 on the morning line? Requite, yeah, 8-1 on the morning line goes off as the 8-5 favorite, and Requite will be the number 3 horse in here and wins pretty convincingly. So the betting play, the buzz was out. Talk a little bit about Requite.
He's really trained well all year since I got him. We got him up here in May. Wilhelmina Combs sent him to me, and she did a great job with him. I mean, he's basically, the long and short of it is, he's outworked everything I've had. And he's shown good early speed, and, the combination of some ability and good gate speed is a big push here in a race like this.
And notable, another first out winning son of Warriors Reward, now 7 for 12, I think, with first-time starters, and there were 2 of them in there yesterday. So that part of that 12 was a couple of them competing. Do you have any other Warriors Rewards? You notice anything special about these guys?
Actually, I recently got another one in that I like a lot, a New York bred. I've only had him a short while, but I would say that this horse is going to end up being a pretty good sire, Warriors Reward.
So far, so good. No question about it.
George, talk a little bit, because this could probably help players. And you talk about the work in the morning. And when we look at these maiden races, particularly at Saratoga, a little bit as well at Del Mar, and you've got either well-bred homebreds or expensive purchases. They don't have to be expensive, but we look at these, and you're basically going on sibling strength and on dam power and the pedigrees, and then reputation for trainers that are good with first-time starters or second-time starters. We know that Pletchers are going to be well-schooled. You came from that same developmental program, the Lucas Pletcher camp. In terms of the public interpreting what they're seeing on maidens, on unraced maidens, when we look at these past performances,
right.
What do those works tell us? How important are they? We obviously got the advantage of Mike Welch and Mike Vesey with the Clockers report, so that, for me, that's where I knew Requite was going to be ready to run. But talk a little bit about prep for firsters.
Well, there's a lot more information available with the Clockers reports and stuff, and you know, I'm probably kind of mixed. Like some horses that I know are fast and can win first time out, I try to make sure that they're ready to roll. And then you have other horses that are kind of slow students, and you might be coming to a point where you're like, you know what, I think a race is going to do better than 5 or 6 more works. And so each horse is an individual. Can I get one ready to win first time out? Yes. Every horse I've ever had that went on to do things did run very well first time out. And most of them won. But, I don't always have them tuned up to the T. I guess it's just kind of reading the workouts and watching the board a little bit.
How much can we read into gate works? Because I always am interested to see if a horse has been working, moderate halves and then now moves up to 5/8. And then I want to see maybe a gate work, 2 works back, where maybe you put him in and want him to get that drill to pop.
The colt that we ran yesterday, Requite, I actually was on the fence about whether or not to work him out of the gate. The last time he had worked was probably 3 or 4 works back, and it was it was quick. But I would like, for a horse that you want to have win first time out or have a good chance to win, I like a gate work recent. Like I actually probably would like it the last work before they run, so it's on their mind. That gate opens and you're flying out of there. I didn't get to do it with that horse yesterday, but I kind of had a feeling that he already knew what was up, and I got away with it.
Typically, how far out do your babies get their gate card? And at what point in the training process, once you receive a 2-year-old, how soon do you start to work in the gate?
Oh, right away.
Right away.
As soon as they come there, because a lot of the horses that we get, they've been accustomed to the gate, standing and walking through and maybe being closed up, but as far as, open the doors in front of them and teach them to go out the front. We go to work on that right away. It's kind of I like to go ahead and try to get it behind me as quick as possible, and the more times they go over there, the better they'll be prepared when you run them.
Is there anything that we can read in when you pick a 5.5 furlong start versus a 6 furlong, or maybe a 7 furlong start for a baby? With Shug McGaughey, famously, Shug, because his pedigrees and the horses he's historically had, they're typically going to be horses that are going to be best going longer. So for me, it's always been 7 furlongs. If I see Shug starting one at 7, he's got one going short today that might be ready. But in terms of picking those races, is it just what comes up in the book, or is there some method to preferring a 5 or a 5.5?
Well, the colt that we ran yesterday, I knew he was quick, and I knew he could handle going 5.5. There's, when you run at Saratoga 5 or 5.5 in a maiden special weight, you got to be able to get. And if there's plenty of horses out there that are supposed to run longer races and are not going to be effective in that scenario, and you want to try to give them a shot to at least, learn something. If they're just in the back eating dirt and never get to run, so a horse that doesn't show a tremendous amount of early speed, you might want to stretch them out a little bit. Or a lot of times we try them long on the turf. If you know they just can't handle sprinting, try them long on the turf and see what happens.
Speaking of a horse that seems to have gotten better going long on the turf, your winner in the 8th race yesterday, Analysis, nice New York bred for you. We've got the stretch run here. Analysis will be the number 2 horse. And this was a big performance given that he was in the back of the pack early. 7th in a field of 8, but essentially last, because the horse that was 8th was essentially had just kind of trotted around the entire way. But boy, this was a nice stretch run. And as I say, when you came into this year and started to stretch him out on the grass, seems like an improved performer.
Yeah, he's done very well. Both my horses ran well in this race. They finished 1-2. And, I hate to run a lot of horses against each other, but that was the spot they needed to be in. And both of them broke they didn't break running, and it kind of helped us because they were going in the first turn. There was a bunch of them scattered out wide and got pushed out. And we got to sit a very nice trip, and both horses fired well. Analysis is, he takes a lot of paddock school and a little on the nervous side and requires a little extra work. So it's rewarding to see him, get as good as he's getting right now. He's in very good form.
New York bred, as I say. What do you think of the New York bred program? The sale continues tonight.
Yeah, it's going to get tougher and tougher to win these New York bred races. I've seen a lot of, what we're looking at over there at the sales is a lot more horse than you maybe would see 3 or 4 years ago. So it's a solid program, and New York racing is, the purses are great, the racing's great. So a lot to look forward to.
We just talked a little bit a few minutes ago with Dean about the Saratoga Special and WV Jet Setter later on this afternoon in the Saratoga Special. And I noted while you guys were talking about the workouts, Requite and WV Jet Setter worked the same time a few days ago. Were they in company?
We did work them together. I've only had the WV Jet Setter horse a short period of time. You know, Brett had him, and a deal was in the process. We went ahead and let him work the horse down at Churchill and Easy Half, and you know, I got him up here, and basically we needed to go ahead and work, and I knew that Requite could run a little bit, so I wanted to make sure that you know, this WV Jet Setter had a solid work going into the race, and it was solid for both horses. And you know, happy with the way both of them came out of it, and I think the fact that they work together is a good sign for our horse today.
And so do I. Tuck that in your back pocket.
And of course, we talked with Dean Reeves, who's bought into WV Jet Setter, and you want to talk about a trainer and a horse coming out of a program that's pretty well known for early development. Brett Calhoun, particularly with a Texas bred, this horse that was bred by the late Clarence Schaubauer, who passed away earlier in the year. And you know their program is very, very solid. So the people that are going to look at this and they're going to see the obscure Texas sire and they're going to think little, you know, Texas bred, may be in for a surprise. But what's interesting is this is not like a little June bug type. This is a horse that can settle and come with a run. It doesn't look like you know, that extra 6.5 here, that's going to work, I think, to his advantage.
I think so as well. You know, watching his last replay, I mean, I was really impressed with the horse. I mean, I thought he had to sit and wait and was bottled up, and he just has such a beautiful way of moving. And when he had, you know, when he got clear and was asked to go on, he went ahead and won the race, I thought, easily. So we're looking forward to running today.
I was trying to see if we can maybe show that stretch run again from the Futurity at Lone Star, and if they pull it up. In the meantime, I got to ask. You know, you've got a lot of nice owners, and of course, Randy Hill, very subdued and really one of those quiet, kind of relaxed owners that really aren't that involved.
Yeah, Randy's relaxed, all right. He's my man.
You guys have a lot of fun up here. It's really, I think one of the reasons that you have such great Saratogas is because, you know, you're on the Randy Hill hot air balloon ride.
That's right. That's right. He's a lot of fun. He enjoys life, and we have a lot of fun with the game, and we're very good friends as well.
Here he is. Here's the stretch, and you can just see him just distancing himself here. And this was what, 5.5, I think.
Yeah, and he coming to the wide area, he just throws his ears up. He just got such a beautiful stride on him, and that's what kind of caught our eye, thinking that he might be a prospect for the future. He just covers so much ground, and we think he's going to stretch out as well, and that's a big thing to look forward to.
Good-looking little horse. I think that we look at the Saratoga Special Field. This is a race that over the last several years has been typically a little bit more of a compact and kind of a misfit during the program, but boy, no shortage of serious players lined up in here. Obviously you've looked at this and
yeah, I mean, we were hoping it'd be a little bit of a shorter field just because, but you know, with us the way I envision us running, maybe it'll help us out. Maybe a couple horses will, you know, set some pace up for us. But it will be an interesting race.
Outside post position, any concern on two-year-olds? It's always.
I'd rather be there than down inside. I mean, it's not like we're going to try to clear the field or anything. We'd like to find a spot, and he's such a long striding colt. You're probably better off to have that than have him, as he was in the last race, kind of bottled up. You probably want to try to move when you want to move and not have to be stopping and going with him as big as the stride is.
This is kind of a fun question. Wouldn't bother you, I suppose, to beat D. Wayne and Todd?
Well, those are my mentors there. I mean, I wouldn't, I'm not wishing it on them, but if it happens, I'll be happy.
Oh, they're always asking Todd about beating D. Wayne. Start asking him about beating the two of them.
They both have nice horses, so it's going to be a good race. I hope we're all in the thick of it there in the last parts of the race.
You know, we could bring up a bunch of others, but quickly on Requite, Hopeful probably comes up a little quick.
It is. I think it's like, what, 20-something days, something like that?
Yeah.
Right at about 3 weeks. We'll just see how he's doing. I mean, I'm a big believer in running him if they're doing well, so if I feel like he's doing all right, we'll probably give it a try. If not, we'll map out something that might get us to the Breeders' Cup.
Well, undoubtedly, George Weaver, who has had already a spectacular meet at Saratoga, much more down the shed row before the meet ends?
I hope so. I hope I'm at least not half done. I want at least 6-7 more winners, maybe more.
Look at this.
Got to finish up strong.
Tell you what, like the interesting thing is when you have a big opening in the first 10 days of the meet, first fortnight, it gives you the opportunity to come back and run them again at the end of the meet.
That's right. We got a bunch of. We should have the ones that got checks there, seconds and thirds, to come back and run live. So we're looking forward to it.
George Weaver has been live at Saratoga year after year. He basically burrows all during the Belmont season and then comes out of the ocean like Godzilla at Saratoga. Good luck today.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks so much,
All
George.
right, guys. Thank you
George
very much.
Weaver.
Microcosm of that yesterday, too, with Rook White. Bubbled up, but it didn't quite escape the betting public.
No, betting public. But they've caught on to this guy over here. George Weaver joining us. We're going to take a break, our final of this busy morning, and Jack Wolf is going to join us. He's had a pretty good weekend considering Ashado was installed in the Hall of Fame on Friday. We're also going to talk about his tremendous work with the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. Jack Wolf joins us next. Loose on the Lead. Stay here. Don't go. Back after this.
It's more than just a sports bar. It's Stadium Cafe. Located at 389 Broadway in Saratoga, it's the place to be for great times and great food. Their menu features everything from gourmet entrees to your favorite wraps and sandwiches. Or maybe you just want to grab a beer and catch the game. So what can be better than that? How about 2 Stadium Cafes? There's also the Westside Stadium, right up the road at 112 Congress Street. Same great menu, same great service. Whether you're hanging at the bar or just relaxing outside on their spacious covered patio, you'll always leave knowing you'll be back again.
We love, above all, the staff. We love Dave Harmon, and the food is fantastic.
Not 1, but 2. 112 Congress Street, 389 Broadway. Guaranteed to be a home run.
Stately Victor, final furlong of the Toyota Bluegrass, runs right by Patio Prado. Alan Garcia and Stately Victor, a 40-1 upset.
Dinah Zappa holding on. Dinah Zappa wins.
Horse of the Year Ghost Zapper, sire of 9 new stakes horses and 5 new stakes winners, including Grade 1 winner Stately Victor in 2010, standing at Adena Springs.
We're back on Loose on the Lead, the morning flying by, and delighted as always to have Jack Wolf join us. Starlight Racing, of course, but also doing tremendous work as part of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance that has gone from 0 to 60 in no time at all, and of course a great historic weekend for you and the partners at Starlight with Ashado going into the Hall of Fame on Friday. It had to be just so special for you and everybody.
It was great to get my family came in, and my brand new little 4-month-old grandbaby and my 94-year-old father, and he's probably watching us now. And it was just they're all sort of spreading out and going back home today, so back to reality.
Well, when it comes to what Ashado did on the racetrack, Jack, there were moments here early in her career, and then the exploits just spill out from there. I know we're going to watch one of her most famous wins, but talk about Friday and the reflections and the conversations. I know when she didn't go in on the first ballot and first pass, you were a little upset and didn't really understand why, given really a great career. But talk about everything that went into those days that made Ashado a Hall of Famer.
Well, I think she did get past the first 2 times, but it's so difficult to get in this.
The backlog. There was a backlog of fillies and mares.
Jones, I don't know how long he's been waiting to get into the thing, but it was fantastic. I was a little overwhelmed with the company we were keeping there, but with all the Hall of Fame trainers and jockeys, it was, and like I say, having the family there, it was just a great experience, and well-deserved honor for her. I mean, she was, never went back to the farm once she got to the track, and
Never had a turnout.
Never had to.
Talk a little bit about her career, and particularly up here. And again, we may have the Spinaway coming up from 2003 if you guys want to run that a little bit later on. She won the Gold for Wanda up here. Of course, also on her resume, the Breeders' Cup Distaff in 2004. But talk a little bit about her career, but particularly the wins up at Saratoga. Always like to get the thoughts from owners on how special it is to win up here.
Well, there's nothing like getting into that. What do they call it? The champagne room over there for the greatest stakes horses. But I mean, it's so hard to win races up here, and her competition was, very difficult. And after Johnny broke her maiden, and then Edgar got on her for the 2 races up here, and she just had a tremendous run. And I don't know what I can say other than she was just special.
And let me ask you this: you got put in on Friday. When did they actually mount the plaques?
That's a good question. Maybe I'll stop.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if you're going to go back and just reflect on the plaque on the wall.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's got to be absolutely special in there. I wasn't able to make it over Friday because I was in here doing television, but it's always a fun day. And I'm imagining it had to be an absolutely emotional day when a horse, after a long, successful career like that, gets honored. And essentially, for not necessarily for eternity, but for as long as folks will remember, will be recognized there in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think I'll stop over on the way home.
Well, $4 million basically in earnings, and one of the things that to me about her that is really outstanding is when she was beaten. You look at who beat her, and it was just nothing but the best of the generation.
Right.
Over those 3 years. Society Selection, Half Bridled, who was basically running into a buzzsaw that year in the Breeders' Cup. Madcap Escapade, whose progeny we're seeing from the Mike Moreno barn. Stellar Jane, Silmaril, and then of course Pleasant Home in the her big upset in the Distaff as you were trying to reprise and become a 2-time winner. But I mean, those are all just the top level competitors, Grade 1, multiple Grade 1 winners all.
It's unbelievable. We had a party the other night and had the replays, and Frankie Brothers, who does our bloodstock work, he trained Madcap Escapade, so we had to play that one for Frankie.
You slipped that in. Here's a loss. Oh, but it's Frank, so it's all right.
But yeah. Like you say, unbelievable.
It's a good thing you didn't have Shug visiting the party. You would have to show 2 more losses.
I know.
I love it.
Jack, talk a little bit. Whenever I get people on, I always like to talk, and I put it this way when I had a train run earlier this week. I'd like to know how you got into the game, because there are both sides of it. Folks get in through blood, they get in through the family, or they skipped high school and went under the fence. How'd you get into the racing game?
My wife and I, back, I guess, 14, 15 years ago, I was just getting out of this Wall Street gig, and we wanted to do something together, so we got a bloodstock agent, went out and bought some yearlings, and just as simple as that.
Which is more high pressure, Wall Street or horse racing?
There's nothing like this business, if you call this a business. But
well, and Jack, I mean, that you bring that up, and I mean, the reality is you've had a star-crossed year for the organization. I mean, yes, a shadow in. There was the just excruciating, I don't know how else to say it. I mean, just the excruciating heartbreak that came earlier in the year. Here you are, a hot Derby favorite or hot Derby buzz horse, and 6 weeks later the horse is gone.
Yeah, and that was tough. It's just part of the game sometimes, but it's pretty difficult to deal with.
One of the things, we could fold this in and go to part 2 of our visit with Jack Wolf, and that is the work that the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance is doing. And this was a concept that took off literally. I mean, I don't think it was established, and 10 minutes later it had endowments and it had everybody signing on, and the work and the progress of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, TAA as the moniker, you see it adding to the alphabet organizations, but the TAA doing tremendous work.
Well, the Jockey Club and the stallion owners, the race companies, the sales companies, all of them have jumped on board, and we granted $1 million last year to 23 different organizations. We've got another 23 that we're going through as we speak, and hopefully we can double what we gave away last year. So,
part of the work that TAA is doing, and it really was a necessary addition to the aftercare and to the second career landscape, was the accreditation. And having a certain standard of performance and care and supervision, and having those parameters set so that the entire industry can feel good about whoever is more or less asking for contributions, looking for support, and gives really everybody confidence that the organizations that are under the umbrella and that have been recognized and been accredited, that you can give money with confidence and you can adopt a horse with confidence.
Well, Stacy Clark Rogers and Madeline Auerbach have done a fantastic job of getting this thing together, and Anna Ford has put many hours into this thing, and I think you're right. It's really makes the whole process credible with the great accreditation policy that we have. These poor farms that have to go cross the T's and dot the I's. So I agree.
Well, Jack, finally, we can't let you go without a Saratoga summer and a horse status update. Give us the next hopeful.
The horse that ran second yesterday, the George's horse, I think is pretty nice. 2 weeks off by Harlan's Holiday.
Yep.
And hopefully we can break our maiden next time out. But he looks like a nice horse, and his Hope Faith Joy ran third the other day. And we've got the ladies partnership has a filly named Asking for Money that looks like she's okay too. But our crop's getting a little bit slower start this year, and which may be better in the long run. But those are the three that look good right now.
Well, it's always great when we can visit with Jack Wolf on all the things that he's been involved with, and of course local Don Lucarelli and his family, a big part of the organization.
Now, his picks in the Times-Union today.
Nope.
I'm
in two, so.
And I went 2 for 11 yesterday, so that's not much of a target.
I love it. I love it. Jack Wolf, thanks so much as always.
All right, thank
Continued
you,
success.
All right,
appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you. All right, we'll wrap things up. Don't forget questions, comments, suggestions. We love to hear from you. Loose on the Lead at yahoo.com. That wraps things up for Loose on the Lead for this Sunday morning. We're here every Sunday from 10 until 11 a.m. Enjoy the races this afternoon. Don't forget it's Tote Bag Giveaway Day. We'll see you again next week.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.